Cast. I'm April Elias, and I'm joined, or Will Castillo and Jamie White are joining us today. We're the all of the rotating hosts that come in here and bring you the AI Hotline podcast each week. So today we're going to cover some topics. We're going to cover some insights that we've gleaned from this week of us working in the AI space. We're also going to touch on trending topic, and then we'll get into either a demo or a build. So for those of you that don't know me, again, I'm April Elias. I'm in Owners Club, and what I do is I do a lot of AI strategy, AI talent, and AI culture optimization. And then I'm also a hands-on builder, and that's pretty much it. And I'm here to share what I've been learning this week. So go ahead, Will.
Awesome. Well, my name is Will Castillo. I'm also in Owners Club, Sub2, and Gator communities. I am a marketer by trade. So a lot of my stuff has to do with marketing automation and AI implementation in my business, as well as helping real estate investors scale their businesses with AI.
Awesome, Jamie.
My name is Jamie White. I'm in Owners Club also. Basically, focus on the building of the systems and the back end of the automations and the lead management. Um, and That's pretty much what I do.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So today I thought what would be helpful to share is each week we do have every Thursday we have Owners Club AI office hours. So that's where everyone in Owners Club can hop on a call, and during the call we just kind of figure out what's important that week, where people need help, and then if there's an opportunity to teach, we go ahead and teach. And so this week, I would say one of the common themes that popped up that I thought was interesting is, of course, a lot of people have the same problem on their desk. A lot of it is their email or just the chaos of email and messages. And, that's kind of a common theme. But then the other thing that continues to surprise me is a lot of people are still using ChatGPT just as like search or not using it at all. And I always underestimate that audience. I always underestimate how many people are just using it in that way. And I think it's a really great opportunity to open that world up for people and have it start to create some efficiencies and for them to start to think a little bit differently or understand exactly what AI is, or get towards a better understanding of what AI is, because some people have the interpretation it's actually like this invisible robot that comes in and does all the things for you and you just like AI everything, and some people are a little apprehensive about it. So that's kind of what I wanted to dive into a little bit more today. And I know from office hours today I didn't, well, let me pass it off to either Will or Jamie for you guys to share how your experience and how people interpret AI.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, it's been interesting to see what the use cases are. I mean, just to give you an idea, my wife uses it mainly for recipes. So
Mm-hmm.
searches recipes, or whenever like something is like, for example, our pup is getting older, right? So she searches like, okay, these are the symptoms, these are the things that are happening. So like, it's also as like a search engine in a way. And I feel like where things are moving towards, or like where people are not necessarily taking the most advantage of, is using it as like an actual assistant for things.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that gap as well, kind of showing up everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie.
I've been kind of noticing that most people feel AI is just something that runs inside their CRM and there's not other uses for it. So it's interesting to kind of broaden their horizon and get them to do other things and try to use it to grow their personalities rather than replace what they're doing.
Yeah. To enhance their efforts or to help them articulate their thoughts and just say things better. Because ultimately, the idea or the inspiration starts with you, because you have to put something in for it to have an output. And so it's just a nice compliment. And sharing that with people, I think, is helpful. And like I said, I'm always just underestimating that audience that is like, yeah, it's on my phone, or like, yeah, I use it to look stuff up. But I would say the other thing, and that was consistent across our office hours, and then I went ahead and did a tutorial of, just basic ChatGPT stuff, basically like ChatGPT 101. And the same thing showed up in my meeting immediately following that. It's around a YouTube cohort and getting people's brand voices and everything dialed in. And so what we were working on is putting together a project in ChatGPT. So for those of you that don't know this already, ChatGPT is not only just that chat string. You get the paid version of $20 a month. It literally opens up all of these avenues for you to continue to expand as your not only your thinking, but then organize all of those thoughts, and then having them be organized in a meaningful way that you can reflect upon easily when you need to. And so ChatGPT has a projects feature, and then they also have a custom GPT feature. And if that sounds overwhelming to everyone, don't worry, we'll help demystify that and show you how to use those things. So maybe that should be our demo today to keep consistent with the theme of us going through ChatGPT on a regular basis today.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, cool. So as far as, are both of you using ChatGPT projects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew the answer. I just wanted to ask. So within ChatGPT projects, what would you say is your most common project that you go to? So if you think of a project, it's literally in a file folder. You go to that file folder. What is the subject of that file folder, and what is your use case for it? So Jamie, do you want to go ahead and start with that one?
For me, I've been able to separate a lot of my sub accounts and things like that into the projects. So as I'm trying to go in and search information or build something or build funnels or do anything like that, it's searching on that individual customer rather than just wide open search or search. If I do it in the main chat, it's basically always searching on myself. Where if I do it in the project, I'm getting the information I need for the customer. So that's been very useful on that end.
So to explain to people who might not know what sub accounts, you're referring to high level sub accounts. So you just want to explain that a little bit, what that is and how it really comes in useful?
Basically, in the Go High Level world, where each account's running its own company, and if I'm trying to say build a voice agent and I want the wording and everything built for that customer and everything about the customer is already inside of the project. And when I go to reword something in the script or do anything like that, it's pulling all the information that's already saved. So it's basically really pulling it together for that specific need without a lot of extra very generic stuff. It's always about the one customer.
So you feel like, does it help you like reduce overwhelm and just be overall more organized and feeling like you're not having to start from scratch in a new chat or look for an old chat that you might have had a nice long conversation in?
It's definitely something that allows me not to have to remember every detail.
Yeah.
So when those details are saved and I'm just trying to get the information I'm trying to get quickly, it's there. And even if I just have a question about the customer, I can log into the chat and ask the other question because it has everything already saved in the project. So it's been very useful.
That's a good use case. I love that one. Will, I know you've got some good ones too.
Well, just like Jamie, I use it for a lot of my clients. So on the agency, like our account is pretty much divided by each store. And then so my team, for some of my ads team, goes in there and does a lot of the deep research on the store and then saves it as the instructions or saves it as the the documentation. And yeah, I mean, majority of it is just creating marketing material, right? So it gets better as we go and we tell it which ones are good, which ones have done better in the ad side. For me, in terms of like my automation business, marketing automation business, is two things. One is either projects that I have internally going on, so I'm always loading it up with that information or research that I find and put it in there, or personal things like recipes or workouts and things like that that I'm trying to like get better at. So in that regard, yeah, I love the projects because it's a way to also keep myself organized. Because if you see the rest of the chats before projects came in, oh my god, there was so many of them that were like nonsense that I try to delete afterward.
Yes, exactly. Or sometimes I've even deleted the wrong one in error before and been like, oh no, and then it's all gone. So it's getting much better at remembering, and then just by interacting with it, it's training it. And it's, so what would you say that you've noticed in training it? Or do you love to add attachments in there, or do you prefer to tweak the instructions, or do you do a hybrid approach and you do both sections? So, and what I mean by that for people who aren't familiar is when you're in ChatGPT and you're in a project, in the project, you have the opportunity to give it instructions. And then you also have the opportunity to load like attachments, either files or images, things that would help that project. It's like in the container of a project that as you work inside of that project would help you reference that. So Will, what's your favorite approach to like starting in a project?
So I like to create the docs first. So I go into GPT, for example, that I have specifically for how can I say this, for like developing my projects, right? So it helps me kind of like organize myself and like ask questions of things that maybe I didn't think about in the moment of when I was typing it. So I develop that, and then I use that as like the attachments inside the projects. But I've come to find something called context. Let me get you the right name so I make sure that I'm not butchering it. um but essentially is context, one second, there it
Yeah,
is,
no,
context profiles. So like this is more in like JSON, so it's not
Mhm.
like regular language. I mean, it is regular language in terms of like how you type it, but it's more on like creating a really robust description of what the business is, what the plan is. Not necessarily as a prompt, but it is a prompt, but you give it context as far as like, the type of imagery, right, that you want, like the images that you want generated. So I've been doing that more and more and typing it into JSON. Again, it's a little more technical, a little more advanced, but I found that like going full on text to that kind of like prompting, it provides me with like more accurate stuff that I want to get it out of. Now, when it comes to like research and things like that, is purely just me interacting with it. And every time that I do a search that I don't like, or didn't like the response, or it didn't necessarily fit, I just take it out of the project, so that way it doesn't become this little um ink in the water, right, that it just dilutes everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the strategy of adding them as attachments and then being able to add, remove, and just say, forget this, remember
Mhm.
this. Because you can literally delete files and then replace them with updated files. And then the analogy that I came up with on the fly, and was it a coherent analogy, Jamie? Did it make sense when I gave it in the YouTube cohort? Because if not, I'm not going to repeat it here. But did it make sense?
It made a lot of sense.
Okay, good. Because I was like trying to think of like a metaphor to describe the. Well, actually, can I? Let me see. Let me see. Can I share my screen?
I think so. If you
Should
Let
check
me let me let me see.
the buttons at the bottom, there you
Okay.
go.
All right. You guys are going to see some of my stuff in here, which is fine. These are all custom GPTs. And down here, you'll see some of my projects. And then there's more projects because there is a ton. So let me get into the brand strategist. That's what I did as a demo. So just really quickly, the way that you arrive here is you log into your chat GPT and then you just navigate to the project section. You'll see it on the left-hand side right above your chats. And then you click new project. And when you click new project, just, I'll click it. You name the project, whatever it is that you want to name it. I always suggest naming it what its job is, because I just feel like that's my assistant in that job. Like if I had a personal assistant in helping me with my brand strategy, that's my brand strategist assistant, right? So I just name the project as it relates to the job that I'm asking it to do. And so in the instructions, so I was like, hey, this is like the kitchen. Like the project is the kitchen. And, if you're, or, you're working with a chef in a kitchen, the instructions are the recipe, right? This is the recipe. You're a dedicated brand strategist for April Elias and a unique AI consultant who co-leads, did all these things. And you give it this comprehensive and clear, beautiful instruction set as a recipe, but then the project files are like the refrigerator that has the ingredients. And so what I noticed earlier in when I was, demoing this and teaching on this was people were getting confused about how this all fit together because so brand new to using ChatGPT. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was, a learning moment for me to be like, I need to simplify this for more people more often. And so that's how I described it. I just was like, hey, here's the recipe, here's all of the ingredients, and then you can think of the project file container as the refrigerator. And so the person that I was working with, she gave back the feedback of, yes, I was trying to put all of the ingredients in the refrigerator in the recipe. And so hopefully that's a helpful point there. And so I'll just keep going. Did you guys have anything to add at this point? And I'll just keep going and add to what the instructions in the project files are to just
No,
help.
keep going, keep going. I
Okay.
like this.
Awesome. Awesome. So in here, this is just a normal chat interface. Like you experience ChatGPT if you use ChatGPT, even if you use it as just, searching. And in here, you can go ahead and have the conversation. I'd keep it on topic because it is continuing to kind of capture and learn and remember. And you can still access the tools in here. You can still create an image if that's what you use ChatGPT for, search the web, write code, or run deep research. You can do all of this inside the project, which is totally amazing because if I wanted to run some deep research on on maybe like YouTube ideas or something like that, I'm doing my ideation and I wanted to run some deep research on some trending topics in my niche, I can do that right in here. I can also use this to create my prompt for my instructions. So just like I would work with it in, a chat, like if I did a new chat, I could start a new chat and do that. And I do both. Like I'll toggle between both. I'll start a new chat or I will just work right within the project and do that. And the other thing is, and I think I've shared this a bunch, is I like to talk to the prompt. I get more out of, I get more ideas out. I'm able to give more context and really explain like I'm talking to my personal assistant that's a brand strategist. Like this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And, you just go on and say the thing, but try to keep it as focused as possible on the actual ask, mine specific around brand strategy. And then this is also where I would create my prompt. So I'd go back and forth and say, create me a prompt that's clear, comprehensive, and that follows a structure that is stable and will be successful in this particular scenario. And you just ask it to do that. And then it creates you this beautiful prompt. Take a look at it, work with it a little bit if you need to tweak it. I don't think I did much in this one. I just put a little bit like of stuff in there. There is some stuff that I need to go back in and fill in, but I left them as placeholders for me to, well, this was a demo one, but I left them as placeholders for me to either go back and work with this or go back or for the instructions to actually have this as a placeholder, like this is what I need to be thinking about when I'm thinking about brand strategy for April. And, it has my technical qualification, my authority pillars, brand voice and tone, like all of these things. It's very comprehensive as it relates to branding. And the other thing was I want to position myself as a guide, not like the expert telling you what to do, just sharing, hey, this is what's worked for me. Hopefully it works for you too, type of thing. So all of that I wanted to accomplish is put into the instructions. And then the project files. So this is what we were referring to earlier is in the project files, I put my LinkedIn profile in here because my LinkedIn profile has all of my professional experience, my AI experience, my talent acquisition, management consulting, all of that is represented on my LinkedIn profile. So if you have your experience represented in a resume or some type of professional bio or something that you use for whatever reason that communicates your background, I would save that and I would put that in here. And all you simply do is hit add files, and then you have the opportunity to add the files. And it's as simple as that. And then the other thing that I put in here, which I think is pure gold, and I'm going to drop this in the Owners Club Discord for everyone so they can use this. So when we were at Owners Club in Monterey last week, Pace gave this amazing funnel conversation. It was the thing that stuck with me the most. And Will, I saw that you posted that image of that funnel that screenshot, that was super amazing. That's something that I plan on loading up in here too, because that's only going to contribute. That's an example of being able to load up an image. That's only going to contribute to the quality of the output of my brand strategist. And so what I did with this was I actually took, because I record everything using Otter.ai. Some people use Plod or they use other types of tools to record, fireflies, there's all kinds of stuff in
there's a
there,
lot.
all kinds of Loom, Fathom, everything. So because my Otter knows Pace Morby's voice, I was able to just ask Otter in the AI chat, only give me what Pace said, and only give me what Pace said as it relates to branding and strategy and all the things, because there's some things that are just off topic a little bit, or it could be a sidebar story or a sidebar question. So I scraped it for the core contents of everything that Pace was trying to communicate. I created a Google Doc. I saved it as a PDF, or this one is saved as text. This looks like I just put the text one in. But in my other one that I'm really using, I saved it as a PDF and I put it in there, because that one's built out a little bit more and it has a bunch of other files in it. But that's just an example of how you can use these projects, and hopefully that sparked some inspiration on how you could possibly use a project on your desk. And now I'm going to try to go back and figure out how to, there we go, stop sharing my screen. There we go. I don't know how, I found it. So there's that. Did you guys have anything to, recommend, or any points or tips, anything you'd like to add to what I just shared? Don't everybody hop in at once and
Muted for some reason. I didn't even try. Does it make a difference if you have the free Pro or Plus account for
it's
using
the $20 one. You can do it with the $20 one.
Mhm.
I have them where that one I showed you was the $20 one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really use the Pro. I never signed up for the Pro, the $200 a month.
Me neither.
I think for the $20, I think you can get a lot of it. I think it's an overkill for the Pro, to be honest, unless you're like, I don't know, adding all your accounts in there and asking it to book your trips and whatnot with Expedia, I guess.
Yeah.
But I didn't find it was as good as a human research still. So that's why I didn't want to get, that was the whole purpose, that somebody will get it for connecting those accounts. I didn't think it was necessary. As far as tips go, yeah, I mean, it's defining really clear instructions for 1 to 2 objectives that you're trying to accomplish, is the best results that I've gotten. And then just trying to connect it with other tools like Google Drive and things like that to give it more context, because you can pull those in there. As far as the projects and the instructions, I'm curious. I really don't use the instructions as much because I feel like it dilutes at least what I'm trying to do. Um, but it's interesting how you're using it. It's technically like an extended prompt in there
Yes.
as to what you want the cook to make, pretty much. So it's kind of like building a GPT, but you're doing it inside the project, which is super interesting, honestly. I did not think about using it that way, so I'm gonna start doing some tests with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie.
I actually have the Pro account because I use Operator a lot.
Yeah.
So I use Operator and I use Sora and some of the other features that do come with the Pro that come in handy. And that's why I didn't know if there was a difference between the different ones for being able to add those in or not.
I don't know.
But no, it's again, being able to separate different projects, different jobs, different clients into the projects, I think is amazing. I also have certain custom ChatGPTs that I use inside the bots or inside the projects. So that makes it play around a little bit more fun and do different things. But if you use the custom GPT, then it's not searchable through the whole chat. You have to be in the custom GPT to search it.
Yeah.
So the downsides of that. But at the plus side of that, it helps you separate some of the chats you're doing. So if you don't want it to see the rest of your history, you can have the custom GPT and pull stuff from inside of that, and it keeps you more separated from your main chat.
Mhm. Yeah, and it just really depends on your use case for it. And so did you notice, because I just kept the $20 plan too, because I haven't run into any issues that I needed to expand in ChatGPT. Other things I pay the expensive version for different reasons, but and that's actually going to be something we'll cover too, like how to really like get a hold of, because those subscriptions can get a little out of control if you're not careful. They're seemingly insignificant amounts of money or inconsequential amounts of money, but if you pile them all together, I think it's, or at least for me, it's a meaningful amount of money, meaning like I have a lot of them. I need to figure it out. But did you notice, I'd be interested to know, because you do have the pro version, did you notice any difference between, because you are using projects, did you notice any difference between the $20 version that I use and the $200 version that you use? Do you have more features in projects?
There is some more features, not really in projects, but in the overall ChatGPT, there's more features. The speed of it's quicker. I did notice that. So you're not waiting near as long for it to return the responses. Um, the user memory is the same. You still have 100 spots for user memory.
Mm-hmm.
So that usually fills up depending on how much you use it. And the biggest thing for me again was having an operator, to be able to have that access, to be able to, with operator, you can, let me rephrase it. When you're using regular ChatGPT and you're running, if you walk away for a half hour, come back, it can reset. And it does have some stored memory, but you're resetting everything programming wise inside of it. So you have your chat history, but not necessarily what you were actually working on at the time. In operator, as you're working, you can save your task and everything you're working on and the results and everything came out of it, then it saves. So like if you're working on JSON or something like that and you run your code, it saves your code and the result, where in the other channel it does not. So you can build an operator and continue to build and keep adding to it, and it will make one long system, to where standard chat you have to go through and kind of patch it all together to make it work.
Well, I save my code. I'm able to save my code in other. So if I do it in, say, for instance, Manus, or if I'm doing it in GenSpark, I'm able to save my code files. And it's interesting that, and we'll talk. I won't confuse it with other tools, but we'll talk about that on another podcast, because we could have infinite topics forever.
So like if you're in your standard chat and you say you're running the code and it says we'll be done in 20 minutes or whatever, like it'll say I'll ping you back or whatever, and it's always lying to you because it doesn't ping you. But you check back in. If you don't check back in like 30 minutes, it could reset. It has to rerun the whole thing over again. Where an operator doesn't do that. It holds it and it's still there. So you can go away 3 days, come back, and whatever you were working on is actually still in the same stage. And that makes a big difference for some of the things that I was working on.
So I guess that matters depending on the type of work that you do. Like for me, I'm like, if it reset, the worst thing is when it starts doing something and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then it's like timing out, and then you ask it the same thing and it's a totally different answer. I'm like, oh man, how can I get back what you started to do a minute ago? But it doesn't really pose much risk for me. Right. So for me and my use cases, it's like whatever. But for you, using it for a lot of your client work, it sounds like that makes sense, and that might have a lot more value for you. So I get why you pay the $200.
Right.
So what's the context? Not the context, but what's the longest it runs, as far as like when you have it do tasks in the operator one?
It really depends on what you're trying to get it to do. I found it's about the same as Manus. So like you'll put something in, if you're given an individual task, it's quick. But then it may go and say, like if you're trying to build something bigger or longer, so say if you're trying to build a full N8N module and you got 30 modules in it, and you're just starting with, hey, this is my concept, this is what I'm trying to build, and that it's all putting it together. As you're doing all those different steps in regular chat, every time you go to the next module or node, it forgets the other one. Like it's still there, but the working process, it's not connected. It has to go back and search for it.
Mm.
And when you're in operator, it continues to work on the same trail, like it's still connected and still running. And you're saving each task as you go. So you can go back and run that one task, or you can run it as a solid module. Um, but time wise, it really depends on what you put in. Like I can go in and say, hey, I'm trying to do this, and I want to go out to Notebook LM and get a voiceover built based off this. And it's like, okay. And it starts thinking, and you have no idea if it takes 5 minutes or 45 minutes. But if you don't constantly check on it when you log back in, so like if you started at night, you get back up in the morning, you go back in and says, sure, I'll have it ready in 45 minutes. It's like, you said the same thing last night, and I got to
Mhm.
wait another 45 minutes. But that's the reset I'm talking about. So, like, if it's working in the background and you don't check that answer in a timely manner, it resets and you have to start the process over again. Where in operator, it holds it.
Would
Now,
you say that's the biggest difference versus
um,
your other stuff?
for me, yes, and just having the availability of operator because
Mhm.
I can log into accounts. I can log like in operator. I can log into N8N and like review this workflow.
Mhm.
Where in regular chat, I have to go copy it and drop it in and then run it and then drop it back. So,
Hmm.
and same thing in Go High Level. Like I can connect the API directly into operator and
Well,
like what's
just be careful with that because like a lot of these chats, you never know when that API key. I've heard horror stories.
Yeah.
I'm always on Reddit, so I have horror stories of people's APIs being public, because of one reason or another, and then like huge bills from those APIs.
so
You
what I
know.
usually end up doing is taking a test account, moving over. Like I'll copy a file and drop it into a test account and do operator in a test account, and that way I'm not attached to anything that's live.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
can do my work, and then when I'm done, I can take that and move it back over.
Okay. Nice.
Mm. Yeah. Because to your point, Will, that certainly does happen. And I think the one of the biggest examples is the Google location thing or the Google
Mhm.
address thing.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
I
Somebody
saw
got
that
like a
one.
$10,000 bill. And when I was in Google Cloud setting up because I was actually going to use it for like an underwriting thing, and I was like, it was right when that came out, and I was like, oh man, maybe not, maybe not. I don't want a $10,000 bill for underwriting deals.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust it for that. Not yet because of the securities. But if you're looking at a local setup, then yeah, 100% you should be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, 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 yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool.
so a couple things that came up on some of the calls that I've had, and same thing with the office hours is, and I don't want to like move away from ChatGPT, but in terms of like the different models that, sorry, no, I want to move away from the projects, but like because we're talking about the different features, it is always good to remind to understand like the different models, right, that you have. That's another thing that people didn't necessarily understand in that call, and I thought it
Yeah,
was interesting because it has a little toggle there that shows you, right, the different types. So understanding that also helps with your results. So going from like a 4.0, let me just pull up one of these
can
here.
you? Oh, I was just gonna show it while you were talking. I
Oh,
didn't know
go
if
ahead,
my
please.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I'll show. But that is an excellent point, and you're right. That is so important when you called that out earlier. That is super important. So let me just see if I can figure this out again. So April's ChatGPT. There we go. Share.
There we go. So yeah, right there at the top. I mean, these are the different models that you can use. And funny enough, I think they retracted the O3 Pro because that one was on here last week and it's no longer here. So I'm assuming they were testing it and something didn't go as good as they thought. But yeah,
Hmm.
the 4.0 is what I use for most things. It's the most general one. I like it because it's just fast for simple things. The O3 is the one that I'm kind of like now moving towards because I like it when it resends and then I can ask it questions and then like it tries to like understand what I'm really trying to say. So that one is great. The O4 Mini is also really good. I don't use it as much. Same thing with the Mini High. I don't do that much coding in here, but when I have an image or a PDF, that I wanted to extract information or look at it for certain, criteria, then I do use the L4 Mini High. um, and then for if you tap on the more models, the number one that I use for just ideas, I mean, it says that they're good for writing and exploring ideas, is a 4.5. That one is probably going to be the second one that I use the most after O3. And the reason for that is because majority of things that I do is copy, so I just wanted to give it more of like a filling the gaps, I guess you could say, for any ideas that I have or any projects that I'm working on. So that for example, I do a lot of Zapier integrations for different businesses. So Zapier, Make, or N8N. So when I give this to the 4.5, and I give it some context with, like, let's say, the projects that I'm trying to do, it find the gaps on those ideas or the process, and then it just gives me a better, I guess, plan, right? So those are the three. Those are the two that I'm using the most. O3 now that I use the most is O3 and 4.5. Um, and then as far as I don't know if you guys are using 4.1 or 4.1 mini, but I don't really use those as much.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I need to remember to switch between the models. And that's not something I always remember to do, because I'll just go with the default up there at the top, because I'm just like, trying to buzz through things. And so let me stop sharing there. I think that's really, really, really important. And so I'm excited to do that in my new project that's doing all my YouTube ideation and scripting, because at the first go, when I demoed it earlier today, the first go, it was like kind of, it's referencing all my 9 docs that I had in there. And it was like kind of like a script that I would use. But then all I did was I spoke back to it and I said, oh, because you can scroll through and I'm talking like as I'm reading, like I'm talking to a person. That's why I love talking into the chat thing, because I'm literally scrolling through the script, because I have to read it anyway, because it's going to be my script,
Right.
and making sure that it sounds like me and that it's me. And I had to tell it. And Dylan helped me with this actual prompt. Dylan for those who don't know, Dylan, my nephew, who's running this YouTube cohort for people to, launch their YouTubes and craft their channel. He said that he always mentions, don't make up any fake scenarios. Instead, created an opportunity or create an illustration that basically communicates a concept, right? He didn't say it exactly like that, but that's basically what he said. And I was like, that is so brilliant. So I did that. So I said, that part's not true. Yes, I've interviewed 10,000 people, but who cares, right? Like that's only good to know that, like, I've interviewed so many people that I've really tuned in my intuition on people and talent, but I don't want to like say that all the time. And then the other things, like there were some other things that I was just like, remove that, forget this. And then I would explain what was accurate. Right. And I just did that in one go because we were like running out of time. It was the end of the cohort session. And then when I hit enter and it reworked the script based on my one voice feedback, because if I had to type that, I probably wouldn't have typed it, to be quite honest. I'd have been like, this is too much. Right. Like I'd have been like,
Yours with the voice. Yeah. 100%.
yeah. I'm like, no. And it was like so much better, because you have to work with things a little bit. But I was so impressed about how much the quality improved with just that one piece of feedback. So I'm super excited to continue to tune that in, because the script is so much closer. And it would say that it was referencing my docs. And that's why I labeled the naming convention of the documents. Like it's easy for the project for ChatGPT to reference that. So if I'm like, make sure that you stay in line with the framework that's in the scripting framework or whatever, because Dylan provides us, these frameworks that he uses that are super successful. And so we do our exercise. I fill out the exercise, I PDF it, and I drag it in there. And all of the work that we're doing, I'm dragging in there, and we get to use it in this project. That's why I'm so excited about them. But I'll keep you posted on how that goes. But my script is so much closer, and I feel like I'm eventually going to get to a point to where instead of it taking, maybe 30 minutes to clean up a script or whatever, it might even take less time. And the ideation was so good too. Like the ideas were like, I'm definitely doing that, because the April AI channel is like a newer launch. And I asked like, what should my first 5 videos be on? Because this pulls through to the channel as a podcast, this live podcast. But I'm actually going to do videos, and it gave me 5 killer ideas. I was like, this is so exciting. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was just the extra little piece I had today.
They're talking in the next 3 to 6 months that the ChatGPT will automatically select what model to use.
Cool.
Information you're putting in, so that'll be interesting. That's one of the main things they're pushing towards.
I love that.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I use this tool called Whisperflow for precisely whenever I talk, I just tap the function key on my keyboard, and it just prompts open, and I literally dictate it, and then it grasps the main concepts that I'm trying to say. But I found that that's better for or I found that it's really good for precisely talking to it. But what you said is so true, April. I mean, you going through the entire like script, and then like as you're reading it, kind of like giving the feedback. I haven't tried that, to be honest. I don't know why it didn't come to mind. I just like freaking one shot it pretty much every time with the Whisperflow. So I'm gonna start testing it with Whisperflow and doing that.
Yeah, let me show Whisperflow what you're talking about.
That was perfect. Yeah, it's free. It's free download. Yeah, this
Because it's Whisper spelled a little different. So
right.
I always like to show that. But yeah, that's definitely a super cool tool.
Yeah, because there's a lot of we say or we say although, we add extra words sometimes, so like this kind of like completely cleans the message. And what's funny, I started reading it and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a better way of saying it. So it's also good to like reread it and not just just one shot and send it. So that's a cool tool that I found that has helped with everything. I try not to type anymore because it just takes more time. So now I just like whisper it.
Yeah, well, I just feel so much more in flow when I can talk, and I'm like, my ideas are better. Things are just better because I'm just like not doing a manual task of typing. So, and it's like more fun to do because it's conversational and it's super helpful. Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear your feedback on you switching to like reading through things and then giving it the feedback to see if that's improved
Definitely.
your I guess way you work at all.
I'm just at this point when it comes to social media, I have like 20 drafts, so I'm building up like a 3-week model, so that way I can just like start posting it, and then that's what's gonna grab my bot, I guess, my Will AI. I don't know what I'm gonna call it. Let's see.
Yes, that's what you should call it. You better hurry up and grab that domain right now.
Oh shoot. Okay.
You should go look right
It's
now.
probably taken, but let's see.
No, well then just do something that's like the next to it. So there's maybe wilai.io because I don't even want to tell you how many. You guys know I have
$4,000. So I'm gonna.
So is it wilai.ai?
No, it's wilai.com. Yeah, will.ai is already taken.
Oh yeah, that's definitely April.ai was taken. So I did aprilai.io.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah. I hope it's available. Is it?
Okay, that's not bad.
It's $50.
$35.
Oh, Namecheap?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm still stuck on GoDaddy from
No. Namecheap
the 90s. Yes. So grab that right now.
Just purchase it.
Check out. Yes. Awesome. So that's the other thing is like once we have an idea, we're like, oh my gosh, my first thought is always like, I gotta go grab a domain for that. And so I put my whole domain list in because I reworked my whole April Elias ecosystem of like all of the things, all of the, real estate and AI and YouTube and all the things. And my domain list was so huge. And I had a brand like the Did I put this in Manus? Maybe I put this in Manus. I put it in something and it gave me like this awesome ecosystem plan on how I can use the domains and which ones to save for like future, right? Like use
Oh, that's
this
smart.
now, but keep this, maybe let that one expire. Because I had it conduct some research on which would be the most likely to be viable now or in the future, and
I
that
thought
I'd
about
want to
that.
hang on to.
That's so smart.
So you guys should definitely do that if you have a problem with excessive domain ownership.
Most definitely. Yeah, I had no idea that I you see some things that I just don't cross your mind at all. And like I have like 50 of them.
Yes. Yes, definitely do that. I thought it was very insightful. And then I also said why or why not. I like to ask that question a lot too. And I'm like, give me that plan back. And should I keep them or should I let them expire? Why or why not? Like, why should I keep them and why should I not keep them? Like, tell me why. Because if I don't like the reason, I might keep it.
Oh, we got a few comments
Oh,
on YouTube. I was hoping this will come in. So um DJ Star. So DJ is asking, is it a folder structure? I'm assuming DJ is talking about specifically
oh.
the projects. So how are you comparing them to each other? Is there a good test to compare them to each other?
Hmm. So I mean, it's just like a single folder structure. It's not like a toggle open up more of a menu structure, right? So it is, but it's a single column structure. And then what was the second part of the question?
How are you comparing them to each other? And if is there a good test to compare them to each other? I'm assuming the
Maybe
project.
like an A/B test? Did you think he means like because I had two brand strategy ones, like maybe A/B testing the same thing and just using a different approach for instructions, no instructions? I'm not sure.
I think he was referring to when Will was going through the different models. Which model are you using for what?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. So in terms of the models, the reason why I only kind of like stick to the O3 and the 4.5. Here, let me just share my screen on this.
Thanks, Jamie.
Mhm.
Okay, share screen. Okay, so the reason why I kind of go when it comes to oh, perfect. So I have a visual. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, excellent. So the differentiation between them is um based. So I try to just like grab one prompt or what I'm asking it, and then to compare them, honestly, just go one by one, and then compare them each. But the main reason why I use O3 is because I can have it so that it thinks more in depth with the question, and just it's not just gonna try and predict an answer as quick as possible, because that's essentially what these models are. They're large language models. Essentially what it is doing is trying to predict what you're the the answer is always a prediction of the word that comes next to it, right? So they're getting so good that they understand a little bit more context without. That's why the more context you give it, the better. But the O3, what happens is it starts reasoning with itself. It's like, okay, I'm thinking this is what it's asking, but based on the context that it's given me, I'm going to actually maybe it goes, and let's do an example, right? Let's say here we're talking about um, what are some of the most missed opportunities when using Chat GPT O3 model? So you'll see the thinking that is going through. So it's a little slower compared to the 4.0, but it goes into like, okay, context priming. You see, like for example, this was 6 seconds of thinking, and the reason why it goes like this is because now it's obviously understands the context of the question on its own. But here are some of the things. So here are some valuable tricks users skip all the time when using O3, aka the easy money, aka the easy money left on the table. So skipping the why and what for up front, like why people tossing the question without a line or two of context. So the goal, audience, and constraints. O3 can reason, but it still needs a North Star. So like again, it's providing a lot more context, right? It thought about the question. If I go to the 4.0 model and I ask the same question, let me just pull up that in here. You see that the question is actually answered differently. So it doesn't give you much specifics. It just tells you, oh, you're missing this, or oh, this is, what you're underusing, right? Not fitting examples, O3. So it gives you still a list, but notice that the information provided, it's a lot less, I guess, in a way, thoughtful. The explanation, at least for me, it's different.
Mhm.
And this is just one of the questions, right? So you can just test it like this to really like understand the differences, and you can ask the same question to all the models, and then you'll see what the difference is between them. Whichever I like the most is the one that I keep, and O3 has always given me the best answers, so that's why I like those.
I'm definitely doing that. That's awesome. Thank you. Do we have other comments? I guess because it's your studio, will you see the comments pop up?
No, they're actually in YouTube. I'm
Yeah,
monitoring.
they're coming up in YouTube.
Oh,
I thought they were going to be
Riverside.
inside of Riverside, but I guess not. No problem, DJ. I got you, brother.
We'll fix it.
Megan
Thank you,
said
Jamie.
analogy. Yeah, I can't even say the word analogy that you talked about earlier.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I missed it.
Megan said brilliant analogy
Oh,
earlier.
thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying to get better at communicating concepts through easy examples. And that's one of the things that I've actually programmed my script writer with, is like, help me do those things. Because on the fly, I'm not sure it makes sense until I actually say it. Awesome. Well, did anyone have anything that you were like, when I get on this AI podcast today, I need to make sure I share that? So anything from either one of you guys that you wanted to go ahead and message or mention, because I want to give you the opportunity to do that. And if not, that's okay too. I feel like we covered a lot of really great things today, and it's exciting to get in and like show people how these things are used and how we're working with them.
Megan had a question earlier that I was talking to her about, and just for everybody to learn some of the differences. It was about like the multi-channel LLMs. So when you're using one product, it goes to the different channels, and if they're useful or not useful. And they tend to work extremely well for low volume, because you can get, say, for $40 a month, you're getting 5 or 6 different LLMs in one spot. But the use case on all of them is low. So like if you're under, say, 100 to 120 triggers a day, you're fine. But if you start going over that, then you're being billed and charged, and it doesn't work. So depending on your use case and things you're doing like that, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So specifically, I mean, that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up. So specifically, when you say you're getting use of I'm always thinking of the non-technical person and how they're going to interpret what we're saying. And are we just coming out with like robot talk to them? So when you say you get access to these different LLMs, which are large language models, how, like, describe a little bit more in general terms for the non-technical person, kind of like what you mean by that.
Basically, so instead of just going to ChatGPT, you're going into, say, Get Marlin, and while you're in there, you have access to ChatGPT, you have access to Claude, you have access to Grok, and just the other LLMs that are available all in one spot. So you can switch between them, and the same script. So just as Will did a minute ago, he had to retype his script. You can use the same script and check your different models, but you're going between different companies, not just different models within the same company.
Yep. Excellent point. Awesome. And then sometimes people can manually do that too. Like if you don't subscribe to a tool that gives you access to like a bunch of them, you can manually do that outside of that. That's another option if you're just curious. I'm always curious. And I do that like a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I know Perplexity has that option to toggle between them. I haven't really tested their labs or their paid one. I paid it for the first month and then didn't find it as useful for me during that time. I loved it because it was so intuitive in terms of like the information. Like essentially what it is like grabbing a bunch of different websites and like providing me with a summarized answer. But now with their labs, I mean, sky's the limit, right? Because like now they're like everybody's now creating these like super agents like Manus, GenSpark, and all of them. So yeah, it definitely needs something to test.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Anything else before we wrap up today, guys?
Still good. I'm wondering if anybody that's watching this or will watch this in the future is more going, what are they interested in seeing? If they want to see any sort of like specific prompting, or if they would like for us to like test something live, I would love to know where people are at and what the questions they have. I see another question actually came in.
Oh, cool.
Can you go through Wesley Pipes? Can you go through the settings, prevent yourself from accidentally going over your limit or and getting billed? Jimmy, maybe this is, what you were mentioning.
Yeah, and on every one that I used, it stopped your use. So it didn't charge you to do more. It just didn't allow you to do more. So it'll pop up and say you're out. Do you want to buy more uses? So it's not like you're just going to be billed for outrageous bills. It's just you can't. It literally just stops working. Or some of them shut down and work extremely slow or eliminate you to their lowest model.
It's like from going to 5G to no G.
You got it.
It happens all the time when we travel. The kids, because you can only buy like data packages for 30 days, and they're like, you have however many gigs, and they don't know how to act when they've run out of their premium data.
Is that still a thing?
It is when we go to Portugal. I have to buy a data pack every day. It doesn't, not for Mexico or Canada.
In Europe, okay.
Yeah, in Europe.
But even in all your unlimited plans, they max out. So as you're, and even if you got Verizon, it doesn't matter what carrier you have, they max out at a certain gig and then they start slowing your speeds down.
Yeah, and that is true. And we found that out the hard way live in our AI. So Heather and I had that AI Momentum Lab in South Philly, last month. And Colin, my son's phone, he was like, I ran out of like data because he literally streamed the Riverside from his iPhone almost the entire 2 days.
Oh my God.
Because there was no internet in the co-working place. They decided to like change their server or some crap. And we just didn't know. We showed up and we're like, hey, what's the Wi-Fi? And they're like, there's no Fi. So we're like, okay, great. We're getting ready to do a tech workshop with no internet. This is amazing. And but I was like, no, I thought I was all prepared, and I thought I was just, I thought of it all. I had the mini Starlink. I brought that, and I was like, no worries, this Starlink's going to save the day. Well, it doesn't save the day in the city with big buildings because it needs complete view of the sky to connect to the 25 million satellites in the sky. And so then the next day, Johnny, like we couldn't figure it out the first day. And the next day, Johnny Mac got up on the roof, which seemed kind of squishy because it was a really nice building, but it was like a really old building in Philly. And I was like, please don't fall through the roof. And he's trying to get the Starlink thing, which is basically the size of a laptop, out on, he's tiptoeing, going over, and he positions it. And we were like, oh my gosh, you can see everything in the sky now. Well, there was a mature tree that was too mature that took over, and it still couldn't connect. And so we still had to run the workshop on hotspots. So anyway, yeah, you're right, Jamie. You're right. And we put it to the test, and poor Colin had no like regular plan for another 2 weeks of that month.
That sounds like some really good content for Johnny, though.
Oh man, it was funny. I was like, this is happening for a reason. Like, all good, no problem. So yeah, that was interesting. And I still bring the Starlink with me everywhere, and it has come in handy a couple times, but not when you're doing, not when I did a workshop, like a tech workshop. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. But I mean, we have a lot of content actually from that particular workshop too, because yeah, I'll save that for another time. Funny stuff. But this was great, guys. Thank you so much for hopping in and for hosting with me this week. You guys, watchers, viewers, you can catch us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time at this same location. And any ideas, to Will's point earlier, if you guys have any ideas, anything that you want to see, or if you just have a business use case or anything at all, raise it up, and then we will go ahead and get it into our flow so everyone can benefit from the ask of the question. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.